Almost had to start there.
Oh, Ben's here.
Vince?
Oh, Ben, sorry. I meant to say, I
Here's one more, right? You saw it, right? I'm saying.
meant to say.
I think we're actually good with 3, but it's wonderful that you're here.
No, it's just, Adam was wondering whether we need
Oh,
a fifth, because he forgot about the meeting.
no worries.
No.
Man, somebody should have emailed.
Yeah,
Alright, well, let's get started. You can come, in at any. Are we ready?
Yes.
Is this thing on?
Yes.
All right, okay, we're gonna get started. Hello, and welcome to the Kensington Municipal Advisory Council meeting for Wednesday, March the 27th, 2024. My name is Lloyd Powell. I'm currently the chair. To my right, Dave Peterson. To my left, Ruel Cook, and to the far left, Ben Berry. Chris Bryden, who's a board member, is also here, but has indicated that he will recuse himself in consideration of the one project that's on the agenda, although we have some administrative things to take care of, which we'll do right now. If you are a citizen who would like to publicly address the board on a topic that's not listed on our meeting agenda, this is your opportunity to do so about anything at all that might affect the community. Citizens' comments, anybody? Okay, hearing none, let's move on to taking a look at the meeting notes from our February 28th, 2024 meeting, which have been distributed to members of the board in advance of tonight. These meeting notes are also available on Supervisor Joya's website under KMAC. Does anybody have any questions or comments about these very well prepared meetings?
you're excellent.
Excellent. All right, does anybody have a motion with respect to that?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting notes from January 31st,
Yeah.
2024.
Or
Was
possibly?
that,
February 28th.
oh, that's the wrong. February 28th, 2024, excuse me, strike that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Now we're here for the main event. This is application 24-03006, relates to 215 Yale Avenue. The applicant seeks approval of a development plan application for a Kensington small lot review that received request for a hearing. The project involves a 586.19 square foot addition at the rear of the upper level, a conversion of a 442.42 square foot of the lower level crawl space into conditioned living space, demolition of the existing roof to raise up the top plant and build a new roof, raise up both the lower level and upper level ceiling heights 10 feet for both levels, remodel kitchen, bathroom number 2, and installing new white stucco. Is there anybody here for 215 Yale Avenue in terms of the application, the property owner or the applicant? Is anybody here for? Tis. Well, I suppose that a presentation and attendance at this meeting is not required, but we are entitled to proceed with the information that is available to us. All right, so going once, going twice, the applicant or their representative, would they like to speak about 215 Yale Avenue? Going once, going twice. All right, I know there's Kensington has appeared for tonight's meeting, so and in no particular order, if you could come on up and make sure that you're in camera range because we are being recorded, and speak your piece. If you could please identify.
Okay, I also like to have Chris pull up some slides to show you.
Absolutely, yes.
So I'm not sure how that happens.
He's
You want me to be visible in there? So how?
Just mostly audible, but if you wanna, be on camera, now you're famous.
Yes, thank you.
Uh,
So as soon as the slides are up. Great. I sent a letter to you all, and I'm gonna read that letter for the most part. My name is Rosalind Bull. I live at 214 Stanford. So I am a house or two away, about on the back side. My view is not specifically affected by this. However, just to make sure this isn't the applicant.
No, this is.
Okay, so, I am very concerned about it as a Kensington resident and as an architect, so. It's my profession, and so I reviewed the drawings, and I want to walk you through my concerns. So I thought having some photos might help with that. For the rest, I'm just gonna try to read it, because anyway. So the first thing I want to talk about a little bit is the height. So this proposed project increases the house by a whopping 7.5 feet, which is almost a full story. And while there's no drawing within the application that shows this, the current house is already the tallest house on the east side of Yale. Here. And I had written that the eave lines were in line with those of the north and south neighbors, but as we scroll to the next couple of photographs from Google view, it appears that way. Chris. It's my help. Yeah, keep going, next one. And then you can see that it's actually taller. Why is it getting bigger? And then it's taller on both sides. So, and then one more photograph. Okay, this is actually the view taken from my house where you can see. So I had looked on Google Maps and thought, okay, I think that it's about the same height. And then I'm saying, actually, clearly it's already above it. So by increasing the height by such a significant amount, it will allow the new house to loom over its neighbors by almost a full story and significantly obstruct the western views from the houses behind.
Can I ask you a question real quick? In the picture that we're looking at, the house in question is it on the right or the left?
It is this house right here.
All right, so it's the taller building.
It's the taller building already.
On the left. All right,
Okay.
thank you. I'm sorry.
No problem. So I really feel like this is inappropriate for the neighborhood and a detriment to the surrounding properties. So from the applicant's description, it appears that this height increase is because the applicant desires to have 10-foot tall ceilings at both floor levels. 10-foot tall ceilings should not dictate a massing that is already so much larger than those in the neighborhood. It's hard to imagine many, if any, houses in this area of Kensington with 10-foot tall ceiling heights, given the size and scale of the residences. However, should those taller floor heights be desired, the applicant can build down to get that interior height, keeping the roof line at its existing location. From the drawings provided, this is both feasible and it's actually more appropriate for the adjacent grading. When you look at the grade of the backyard relative to where they're proposing the first floor, that first floor is about 3 feet above the backyard, based on the way that they're trying to increase the size of the house. Next, I'd like to talk about the rear extension. So not only is the house going up by 7.5 feet, it's going into the rear yard. Oh, I'm sorry, this is also just about the view. So this is next one. This is from the house. Okay, it's okay, we're goodbye. Which they'll be talked about a little bit further. But so if we look at this map, so this house is proposing to project into the rear yard by 18 foot 8 3/4 inches, cutting the yard area at the southern side in half. So if this is the proposed structure and this is the backyard, it's going to bring it back to around here. I'm sorry to touch your screen. So while adding a rear yard extension is viable, it's much larger than needed and reduces the amount of backyard more than that of its neighbors. In Kensington, most houses are close to their side neighbors, but they make up for that closeness by having unobstructed backyards. And in looking at this aerial view of the neighborhood, the proposed extension would provide a massing of a house that takes up significantly more of the lot than the others around it. So from viewing the application and the plans, this addition appears to be proposed in order to provide 3 bedrooms and 3 full baths and a laundry room at the main floor level. And then they have a 500 square foot office downstairs, as well as a bedroom and a bathroom and an additional laundry room. So this makes the house a 4-bedroom, 4-bath house, plus an over 500 square foot space is called out as an office. And this is, really feels like an excessive amount of space for a Kensington residence and really unprecedented in this neighborhood. My hope would be that this rear extension could be reduced by 10 feet, removing one of the bedrooms from the upper level and placing it within a reconfigured lower level. I'm not trying to be the architect for this project, but it seems contextually it's too great of an extension into the backyard. And a 500 square foot office is quite large. So next I'd like to talk about the roof deck. If we can go to the next slide. Oh, actually, I want to stay on the rear yard extension because I didn't talk about this really that closely. This is the neighbor's house to the north and they will speak, but they're already lower in grade than the neighboring property. So this, a 7.5 foot taller house that extends that far into the backyard will loom over their backyard. Can you go to the next slide, please? So this is a backyard. I also question whether this tree will be able to remain. It has, typically you can't go within the circumference of a tree by very much. And this, the extension is quite close to this oak tree when you look at the plan. So I don't think that that would be able to be saved. There's no landscape plan associated with the massing plan, so it's not clear, but it does not seem viable. And then the privacy of this site is going to be completely obstructed with a looming mass.
About how many square feet will that addition be in the, I mean, how tall will that addition be on the back?
What I can't, it's hard for me to tell exactly where the existing one is. I think this is, can you speak to that? The existing is about this tall. It would be another almost story taller.
Okay, so
It'd be a new addition, 10 foot, with 10-foot ceilings, so it'd be 18 by 8 by 10 feet high.
But at the same level as the rest of the house with the extended
The
roof
way
line.
it goes back.
They'd be raising.
They are lifting the house up, so it's really difficult to tell. If you look on the back of the house, they've raised it up about 4 feet. You know, because they're coming up from the bottom floor and then they're coming up again. So it will probably be up, and it'll be up 2 feet and then 10 feet, so it'd be roughly 12 feet is my guess. Then the roof is proposed an additional 3.5 feet, so 12, 15.5 feet up.
From the rear yard.
From the rear yard, so if you're looking at that fence, the rear yard.
And their rear yard
spaces
starts
that
up
are
here.
sitting all there. You look at the existing house, that's a
I
little
think.
add-on that was added, that's probably 10 feet, 10 feet tall.
Because the house itself, 215 Yale is kind of at the crest of the
Yes,
hill, right?
exactly.
It goes
So,
down.
and then it goes down on both sides. So it's already quite a tall house.
Hey, Chris, did you just say they already lifted the house?
They're going to, that's in the.
Okay.
To dig it
So
out.
they haven't
dig it
done
out,
that
and
yet.
then have
No, the house-
They have to come up, yeah.
I thought the 7.5 feet in the main house, but then, okay, so then
It's 7.5 feet. The upper eave moves up 7.5 feet, giving each of the floors taller floors. So the main floor level also rises off the grade.
and that's
I-
consistent all the way into the back.
Correct.
That appears to be consistent all in the backyard.
Perfect.
Okay, roof deck. At the front, next slide, please. At the front of the property is an existing garage. Noted as having an existing roof deck. However, the house as it currently exists does not have a roof deck at this location. It's a flat, unoccupied roof without railings. The proposed project will create a roof deck at this location, adding railings and a connection from the lower level of the house. As this garage and roof deck are within the front setback, it's my understanding this would require variance. So I don't know that that's been identified in this proposal. It also, I'd have to say, this house, although it's under wraps, it has windows to 2 sides and will obstruct the privacy of those residents significantly. So the last thing I want to call attention to before we can move on to the next slide, but this would show you kind of where those windows are relative to that roof deck. I would like to call out the lack of transparency of this submission. I had to spend a lot of time, and I'm an architect, to understand exactly what was being proposed for this plan. No one came to the neighbors behind, and it's just really not presented in a straightforward manner. First of all, the description of this project identifies it as a remodel, and it shows parts of the walls being retained and others as new. However, the existing house is extremely fire damaged and has been left exposed to the elements for over 2 years. So as such, the house is going to need to be completely torn down. There are no remaining walls within this structure to be being pieced together, and moreover, adding, a couple feet to each floor before you do that. The description identifies that the project is changing from a 2-bedroom, 2-bath house to a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house. However, it's actually a 4-bedroom, 4-bath house with a 500 square foot office space, which could easily be considered a bedroom, at least one, making it a 5-bedroom, 4-bath house. So the description in the information is incorrect. The proposed lower level that was connected to the main level by a stair appears suspiciously to be a second unit. It has plumbing readily available to add a kitchen along a shared wall. It provides a separate laundry room from the space on the upper level. It also has a standalone HVAC unit separate from the upper level. In addition, the extremely large home office space is perfectly situated to be a living space, or it could be an ADU plus a separate office. It's really hard to tell, but if it's going to be an ADU, it should be identified to you as an ADU or to everyone in the neighborhood as an ADU. The new and existing plans are provided on separate sheets, which makes it difficult to understand the extent of the addition contextually. There's no line showing where an addition is occurring. There's no drawing showing the neighboring houses with their existing windows and doors to show how the addition affects those around them. And similarly, there's no contextual elevation. You have to have these photographs to understand how tall this building is now and will be with this 7.5 foot tall extension in the neighborhood. And I think Kensington is all about being contextual and neighborly, and there's kind of nothing about this that does that. So in addition to I think that this has a dangerous precedent. I have never come to one. I've come once to say great to a thing. I'm not someone who really stands up, but when I see this, it feels like it's a dangerous precedent. It is taking a house that is already at the top of the crest of a hill and of a certain size and adding to the back rear massing, removing a backyard, looming over its neighbors, is making it taller, it's putting a roof deck in the front. It's a land grab in a way that feels really unlike anything here. And so I respectfully ask that you do not approve this and not set a precedent for other development within our city. So thank you.
Thanks. Great presentation. Thank you very much. All right, who's next? Come on down.
I'll go.
All right.
And maybe, can we get those pictures back up, or even just the last one?
They were no shit.
If that's possible, I don't know. My name is Ann Conley, my partner Natalie and I live, I was gonna show it on here. We live at the Turks property at 213.
Next door neighbor.
Yes.
I did receive your letter, and
Oh, okay.
we have copies of it here. Everyone has received.
Everyone's read it. I was really just gonna read it again for you guys,
For the
so.
record, in case, this seems to be sort of a contentious application, so go ahead and make your full statement into the record and then we'll move on.
Okay,
There you go.
sounds good.
Yep.
So, and I agree with everything Rosalind just said. We have kind of a very specific situation being so close, obviously. So I just wanted to talk about it kind of from our perspective. And so our primary concern, if we want to go to the backyard, maybe, I'm calling it the bedroom wing for them, that's coming back. Obviously privacy is our biggest issue here. It'll result in them being able to look into our backyard. We have a very small house, and in good weather, we spend a lot of time in the backyard. But with the addition that we're talking about, it's going to be above the height of the fence, and there are going to be these 3 new large windows looking right into our backyard. We're concerned about the possible loss of the large oak tree.
Is that tree on your property?
It's on their property.
But it does hang over the drip line, so to speak, is in your yard, so it's
Yeah,
at least partly there. Okay.
exactly. And obviously it provides privacy now. If it went away, there'd be a large gap. And so with the 3 new bedroom windows, which are, I did the math as well, there's currently a window right about there. These new windows would be 4 feet taller, and they would be looking down into our backyard. We're also concerned about the blockage of sunlight. We don't know if there's been any kind of shade study done, but we'd love to see that, and maybe story poles, so we could really get a sense of the height and the bulk and what it would look like. But clearly privacy would be a big issue for us. And then going to the front of the house, looking at that roof deck, it is so close to our house. It's less than 4 feet away from our house. So the proximity is pretty crazy, and we're getting new windows, yay. So that's good news, but one is right there, facing the west, one is right here on the south. They're right on the edge there. They look out onto that, what would be the roof deck. And it also, even worse than us looking at their deck, they would be able to look right into our living room easily. Yeah, so we would lose privacy. If we wanted to put up some kind of shade or something to keep the privacy, we would then lose our view, our southern view. So it's just concerning. It's also a little concerning that there's a door back here that is an existing door. But we're a little worried about whether they want to use this is less than 4 feet distance, and whether they might be wanting to walk through there. So we just want to have clarity on that as well. There's also in that same area where that door is, 2 new air conditioning units being put in. As Rosalind said, it seems a little odd that they would need 2 air conditioning units for a single family home. But we're worried about the noise from that, and we wonder if they could be moved to a different location, since it's so close to our house. And finally, it's just, as you can see, it's already tall. We talked about that earlier. It would be the tallest house on the block by far. And so we just feel like that does set a poor precedent. It makes us nervous about what it might do to Kensington, not just for this house, but for future development as well. So those are our main concerns.
Thank you. All right, anybody else?
Yeah.
All right, how's it going? Welcome.
Welcome, thank you for having us. I'm with Yasmin,
Hi, guys.
and she's with our 6-month-old, probably trying to get him to sleep. So that's why
Are
she
you
couldn't be there.
a neighbor
Yeah, so I'm the resident at 222 Stanford,
across the street?
which is right behind and over
Well,
one.
Stanford.
So our northwest corner of our property touches their southeast corner. So the proposed project is kind of direct, like to the north and west would be our northwest view. I'm a contractor. I do professional construction estimating. So I look at plans all day, every day.
Did you get a chance to look at these?
I saw the original plans that were submitted. Like I think it was from the county and had a lot of, here, I'll step back. I'd say like my primary concern with the proposed project is the height. I think we've talked about it.
Yeah.
And so I just like to reiterate the 2 people before points on each one of those issues, whether it's raising the floor to 10 feet, which seems outside of the neighborhood character. But I'd say like my secondary point is in line with, I think, Rosalind. Yeah. Where, and that was when I wrote to the county, like the primary point of my letter was, this was seemed like a pretty deceiving application by calling it a remodel and not really highlighting the elevation that it was going up, the vertical addition. And just to the point of, I think every community has a different definition of what a remodel is. But on top of what Rosalind was saying, where due to the fire damage and all these other things, like, it's just when you build a house where each floor is 2 feet taller, every existing wall is then 2 feet short. So you're essentially rebuilding every wall, because there's no way to like build a wall on top of a wall, or in like apprentice carpentry, there's no stud stretchers.
So you have to go down to the lowest level of the level and then go up 10 feet.
Yeah,
You
so-
can't add 3 feet on top.
No, you can't just add, yeah. And then the fact that they're rebuilding the roof, they're rebuilding every wall, it's really a new house. And I would assume that new houses have different approval processes or different like story polls or planning review that a remodel would have. And it felt like when this letter came around Christmas time, hey, there's this remodel here, it felt like a disingenuous attempt to communicate the project, and
And that's when you wrote the letter.
that's when I wrote a letter.
Yeah, because we received the plan packet from the county on February the 20th. And I don't know if there have been revisions since then, or between the time of the first letter that you received and when the plans came to us. So I was curious if there have been any revisions and also whether you had had a chance to see
Yeah.
the updated.
And so the update, I did get an updated set of plans, and on the cover page, the description was updated. And it was very different than the original application that we saw from the planning department. So it like, I look at plans every day, and it took me in a magnifying glass to read the fine print, to check the datum points and do the math to see what the actual addition to the property was. And so, yeah, I guess that's my point, is it primarily a height, like it will impact our view kind of towards Richmond and the marina and kind of the black, but it just felt like a not good faith representation of the project. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, anybody else? Either come on up or I'm gonna turn it over to Chris Bride.
Patrick's here.
Oh, Patrick.
Right.
Hi, I'm Patrick. I live at, I'm not a neighbor, but I live in Kensington, and I live at 15 Almont Drive in Kensington, just right up the hill. I am actually, I've been asked by a neighbor of this property of 217 Yale, to take a look at this particular project that was brought on. And in terms of what we have seen, what I had seen in the years that I had been on QMAC, in terms of what criteria we would look at in terms of a project like this. I'm actually a little bit disappointed that actually the applicant didn't show up, because a lot of this information, it sounds like that information has not been either kind of expressed to the applicant or has not been received by the applicant. They may have gotten letters, they may have gotten whatever, but I think that's why you have this QMAC meeting, is to have that conversation with the applicant and the neighbors that are out.
If I could address that point, welcome, by the way,
Yeah.
great, and it's glad to see you at the meeting again. I received 2 letters from the neighbors, ones that have been basically read into the record tonight. I redacted personally identifying information from both letters and forwarded them to the applicants so that they at least have some
Yeah.
sort of inkling about what was going to happen.
No, that's fine. I mean, I guess it's more a disappointment that the applicant didn't show up.
Yeah.
Because the important thing about these meetings is to hear what people say. And then take that and move forward however they want to move forward. So I think a lot of the information that was presented by Rosalind and but it had to do with understanding the drawings and understanding a lot of things about bulk, size, height, what the use is. And there's no applicant to actually respond to that. And so, I was prepared to say the one thing that the applicant should do is, 1, listen to all you of that concerns, and 2, maybe do some things to actually show the neighbors about how this project does affect. And I think that brought up the story polls is very important. The sun shading study is very important. And being able to actually evaluate it on that instead of kind of trying to figure out what it really is. Because when you see it, it may be different than what you actually imagine. And I think that, to me, is probably important and important to all of you in terms of what you actually will see. In KMAC, as we all know, it's, the property owner has their right to build whatever they want. And it is true that by reading the description as a remodel, I don't necessarily think that's the case. But even if it was a new building, a new structure, it would still go through this process. So just to let you know, it would still go through this process. You still would be notified that the building is so high. It's a development plan and not because of square footage, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
So someone in the neighborhood said
For FAR.
it's below their FAR.
It is, no, it's 58%.
Okay.
So it's 400 square feet above the FAR.
Oh, above the FAR.
Above the
Oh,
FAR.
so then it did come here automatically.
Well, it didn't actually. The
Oh.
county was gonna stamp it, and they missed both the
That's a problem.
variance. I mean, they missed the variance to me out there, I wrote them on my letter, and then it came back, but yeah, they were gonna
Cool.
counter stamp it.
Yeah, well, that is, that portion,
That's right.
yes.
The whole other argument.
So, I guess it was being here tonight was really to express to all of you, but especially to the applicant. We had to work with the neighbors around you. Doesn't mean that you have to do everything they want. But you do have to kind of show some respect of you're living in this. Everybody lives very close to each other in Kensington. Kensington is in Contra Costa County. This is why this special ordinance exists. It doesn't happen in Bethel Island and all these places that are unincorporated Contra Costa. It's because of our density in Kensington, our height. It makes a difference because we have tremendous views from different places, and we live the density, parking, ADUs, all those things really make a difference. And so that's just I'm saying, the one thing I do want to just ask though, because I will say one thing is somewhat of a precedent, or not a precedent, anomaly, which the applicant is not here. And I know that the committee is going to be asked to recommend approval or denial of the project. But in normal cases, if the applicant is sitting there and hearing all of you speak, they would probably say, could we grant a continuance? Which means it will give them time to put up the story polls, show the story, and even maybe revise their plans based on the discussions that you all may have. I'm not suggesting that they gather people and talk about it, but a lot of applicants in the past has done that in terms of the neighbors. So I guess the situation is a little odd, where I would think that the applicant, hearing all of you, would probably ask for a continuance, because I think this board, by just hearing, is going to say, we're going to recommend denial, which means that it's a little different process because it never comes back to KMAC board, which means that then it's going to, as all decisions go, it goes to the county, and they take the KMAC decisions very, they probably 95% of the KMAC recommendations are actually accepted through the county zoning administrator. So I'll leave that up to you in terms of how that works, because usually the continuance is asked by the applicant. And that's it. So that's why I'm a little disappointed that they're not here.
That's understandable,
Yeah.
and thanks very much, Patrick. Like I said, it is good to see you.
May I ask you a question to Patrick? Is that not the right thing? So the fact that they went straight to the county, rather than going through KMAC, like.
Everything has to go through the county first, and then they send it to us.
But they didn't, right?
Right.
I understood that never happened.
That was something that,
That's the issue.
that's a county issue.
That's a challenge.
That they made a mistake.
Okay, but my concern in here now is that if some decision gets made here and it goes to the counties, county then going to go back to K-Mac
As
and.
Patrick said, they take,
They won't take it.
they take the recommendation here very seriously, so. It doesn't necessarily have to come, they can come back if they revise the plans, I believe, right?
But they have to
Yeah.
do the application.
Yeah,
But and the community could also show up to the planning
Yeah, they
commission
can.
and say, I object to this,
Yeah.
you know, go there as the next step.
It's just a longer process for them too.
All right, anybody, who's next? Come on up.
one more right now.
No, grocery already covered, my concern. I'm Hiroshi Nishimura, I live in 216 Stanford. Just next to.
Would you please?
401 and the groceries,
Thank you.
Yeah, we need to be able to hear you, it's the most important.
Okay, I'm Hiroshi Nishimura, I live on 216 Stanford. So I think two pictures from my, property to. It's southwest. Yeah,
So that's, this property is directly behind yours, isn't it?
No, he's
No.
he's to the northeast, so just behind,
Yeah.
he's just behind it to the north.
Okay,
So-
sorry. It's not-
So my view to the Oakland direction is over there, roof and, so winter time, previously, very clear here, then, tree grows, then the owner took care of it, so this is a kind of, dry and wet, and, so I really care, I want to really, I care the view very seriously. And but it's covered by grocery, thank you. And
Chris,
yes,
the pictures on, if you had the picture of his view, it's in the deck, just to show the view that I'm talking about.
and this may not be my concern, but you just mentioned a little bit about the parking on here looks already saturated. So if they are going to have an ADU and it may be for office, then daytime they may need 10 parking spot. So.
Yeah.
Like from your house.
Yeah, yes, yeah. Got it. So,
To the left.
yeah. And so parking, I think we should be a little bit more, careful. Because if it's not an ADU for office, that they may need 5 extra spots, and their garage may be only 1 or 2.
Two car garage.
Yeah.
And what, one in front of the house? You can park on that side of the
You
street?
can't.
No, it's only one, only park on that side.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so basically they're limited to 2 parking spots.
Often there's a new business opportunity for paid parking.
Let me get a parking garage. All right, thank you very much, sir. All right, anybody else?
Can I ask a question here? Can you bring that picture back up?
You make this one disconnected.
Chris Burns West. I think we have a new job.
Maybe offended.
It's a more comfortable chair, I bet. Too.
No, yeah, I do like the. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the picture. So if I'm reading this correctly, this is the roof line right here of the house as it exists.
Correct.
And if it's gonna go up about 6
And
feet,
7.5,
if it's going up 7.5 feet, it's gonna be above that telephone pole.
correct.
Is that a fair assessment?
I don't
Yes.
know, and there haven't been many stories,
Story
so we don't know really.
Okay, so.
But I'd say,
Trying to get a feel for it.
yeah, sure, I mean.
You're essentially losing San Francisco.
Yes, right.
Look at the bridge. Okay, anybody else? I'm going to Chris Bryden, KMAC board member, full disclosure. And also who's recused himself from the discussion and consideration of voting, but has some thoughts to express about the project.
I'll probably be there. So again, thank you. Chris Bride and I live at 220 Stanford, so I'm directly behind the subject property. Just want to talk a little bit about sheriff. I'll try and be brief because we've already shared most of the concerns we can. But what I've seen as a community member, a longtime Kensington resident, and obviously a Cambridge member. First is, this was talked to, I don't think we know what's being built at 215 now. The first notice, as Matt pointed out, and Rosalind pointed out, was a residential remodel adding 586 square feet. Some simple door and window changes, a little roof pitch change, new railing, and off to the races. So it wasn't very clear. The plans that were given by the county were micro plans. So you couldn't really see much that was there, but in its reading, it didn't sound bad. Living behind the house for the last 2.5 years, which is a burned down house, I was kind of excited, but when I dug into the plans, you begin to get concerned. So we did ask for the county to review it. They did come back. Now you can see it's about 1,100 square foot addition with some, and I don't think the plans changed actually, just the language in the applications changed. The plans have remained the same. So there's just been things that have been left out. The lower crawl space was left out originally. And then full demolition of the roof and the top plan. Again, they're still not calling out the height there. There's nowhere on the plans that actually show anything in actual measurement that a normal human being can figure out. There's no feet for height, there's no inches for height, there's no math on that that tells you within any level where there's a height on this house. But you can figure it out. Additionally, they're adding 10-foot ceilings, so 2 feet to each floor, 3.5 feet to the roof itself, so 7.5 feet. It says they're remodeling to 2 bathrooms, so that's kind of surprising because the plan is still 3, but the house plans show actually 4. So what the plans really say is this is a completely new 2-unit building with separate entrances on both sides, on both the north and south side. It is a 4+ bedroom. If you want to count the 500 square foot plus as a 5th bedroom, you can. There are 4 bathrooms, 3 on the top floor, 1 on the bottom floor. There are 2 laundry rooms, 1 on for each unit. There are 2 HVACs, 1 for each unit. It's a 60% increase over the current square footage of 1,000 feet. It's 1 story taller than it currently exists when you add it on, which makes it the equivalent of a 3-story house. And it's 2,900 square feet, where 2,500 is allotted. Couple of errors on the plans if you look at them yourself. So again, a couple things that don't really call out again is how tall the ceiling is or how tall the roof is going. It's 3.5 feet. So you can see there where you can kind of figure out where the 7.5 feet come from. Just not very clearly called out. It's called a 2-story, but it's effectively a 3-story. Again, on the square footage, 60% increase, 2,900, 58% of the FAR. Again, not very clearly represented there. There is work within the setback, as you can see, 20 feet required, and right now it looks like 2 to 3 3/4 at the front. And there's work recommended on the roof deck, which again should call for variance. Also, the side yard looks like it's too skinny, although they're recommending an entrance on the side yard with the HVAC units. And additionally, here you'll see it calls it out as a 3-bedroom. If you go to, let's say it's, that data is all on AL1. Go to go to A23, which is the proposed lower unit. What you see on A23 is a full bathroom, utility bathtub, and then if you need laundry room. So that's in the lower unit. So there's your first bathroom. It's called bathroom number 1 on the plans. You'll also see the 2 HVAC units to the left there and the 500 square foot room. Go to the next page. You'll go to the top floor and you'll see bathroom number 2, which is up front by the kitchen. Adjacent or connected to bedroom number 2. Then you'll see bathroom number 3, which is across from bedroom number 3. And you'll then see the second laundry unit. Then you'll see bathroom number N. I think N they meant to put a 4. That's the actual 4th bathroom that exists on the plans, but isn't noted in the description of the property in the plans. So there's your 4-bedroom 5-bath house. You go to the next page, you can see where it's noted as 2,902 square feet. So a little bit about that there. So what's the impact to us and the neighbors? This is what we had 2.5 years ago. The house burned down, we got to live with the smell of fire. They didn't board it up too quickly, so we got to live with the stink and smell for a while. Then they did board it up, so that's what we lived with for about another year. Then they took, the applicant purchased the house and took all the boards off to let the stink out, which means it goes to our houses, especially when it rains, then it clears out. So that's what we've been looking at, and I'm sure the other neighbors have their pretty pictures as well. So what's the impact to us? This is our family room. This is where we spend a great amount of our time. What you'll see if you look through there is one our back deck where we also spend a lot of time. But you'll also see the Golden Gate Bridge. Funny enough, to my wife chagrin, who's back there, we also have no blinds and no curtains. The reason why is because we enjoy the view. We have an unobstructed view of the bay. Right? Why would you put up curtains? So that's kind of why I'm against it. Additionally, this is the view we see from our house. We zoom in a little bit. As you'll see, it is one of the modern wonders of the world. The Golden Gate Bridge, built in 1937. Funny enough, our house was built before that. Our house is a little over 100 years old. So somebody sat on that deck and probably watched the bridge be built. This is the current footprint of the property as it presents against my view. This is the recommended build. So I think it was about 15 years ago, we had a house. We got appraisal for the house. The view was appraised at $85,000. That was 15 years ago. Assuming prices have doubled, that's about $170,000 view. So I'm a little bit upset about that too. But more importantly, neighbors in the community, we hit it all. Yeah, I put the combining ordinance here as well. The things that we hit, obviously sunlight, solar, privacy view, pole pipe mast, mechanical parking. It remarkably hit every single one of them. I've never seen that before. In my 19 years, I came back to the property, actually, in every single one of the things called out the combining ordinance. So congratulations to the applicant, even though they're not here. So I'd say, I think it undermines the combining district in general. This is why it was built. It was built in the 1980s, or the ordinance was put together in the 1980s for this exact purpose. People are coming and acquiring houses in the 1980s and mansioning them. So Kensington said, no, that's why KMAC exists. That's why we're here tonight. So again, huge house, a little too big. And I think clearly the applicant has been tremendously dishonest, non-transparent, and generally doesn't care because they had Matt and my information when they got it from the county. They never reached out. I offered to communicate with them. They didn't show up at this meeting, so they clearly don't care and just want to get passed on to the county. So in closing, no.
What's this? No.
I say no. Again, I would ask KMAC to again, I would say I would go with Patrick here. I don't know how we do it. I'd almost say we recommend the continuance and ask the county to come back, or ask the applicant to come back. They don't have to come to KMAC, but I think we can ask them to stand in front of us. So that would be my first recommendation. I would have asked the applicant if they'd come to take a continuance and take into consideration what we shared at the community level, and maybe to read the K ordinance and understand the community they're moving into. But I think their disregard for us was clear tonight, unless something happens. So that would be, if we can do that, that would be what I'd ask KMAC to do, is recommend that they come back and sit with the community, not make us all go to the county, which we will, by the way, anyway. But I would say that would be maybe my ask, is to grant them a continuance in absentia, and give them the opportunity maybe to come back to additional meeting. If not, my ask would be to recommend denial and move it on to the county so we can go present there as well.
Interesting.
Right?
All right. Are you about?
That's all, yeah.
Thanks very much for
Yeah.
your presentation. Okay, is there anybody else who'd like to make a statement? Nobody? All right, hearing none. So at this stage, we would close the meeting to public comment and engage in discussion amongst ourselves. Who would like to go first? Awesome.
So in my time so far, we've had other submissions that were contentious. And the way that this has always been resolved is through dialogue, through demonstrating the impact, story polls, other types of mechanisms, engaging with neighbors in the community to make sure that whatever's being built, people at least understand it. lack of understanding at this point, I have to say that like, I wouldn't feel comfortable approving this project. I don't know whether it's possible to recommend a continuance in absentia. I would like to make sure that KMAC has a chance to better understand from the property owner what's happening. But I don't know if we're allowed to do that. And so if that's not possible, like I definitely vote to recommend denying this application. There's been no engagement with the neighbors clearly. The lack of transparency in the submission is pretty troubling from my perspective. I can't in good conscience approve anything like this with such little transparency and unfortunately, it seems dishonesty in the submission at this point, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've seen so many projects where we've had a back and forth and a dialogue, and the neighbor or the applicant has come to us many times with different plans that they've adjusted based on the ordinance, based on, conversations with their neighbors. And, like it's their property, they're allowed to do what they want with their property, but to what extent? And I think like we need to uphold the ordinance here, and that's what we're here for. And I think that as Chris demonstrated in his presentation, like every single element of the ordinance has been sort of like exceeded in this situation. And so I wouldn't be able to like recommend this for approval at this point in time.
I'm in the same spot. I can't recommend for approval. Seems to be lots of issues. And based on what I've seen, I don't think we can pass it on the ordinance.
I feel the same way. I mean, the two things that jump out at me are the height problems, blocking neighbors' views and sunlight, and the parking situation. Parking is already probably pretty bad on that street. Pretty sure it's tense.
Yeah, it seems like the addition of not one but two air conditioners it shows a desire to split part of the house off into a completely separate unit, which would also put additional pressure on part. It's when you buy Kensington property, you spend a lot of money, especially these days. And within reason, it's not up to the board to stand in the way of reasonable improvements and developments. In this situation, we have a house that's been basically destroyed by fire. And it's sat empty for a couple of years, and that's also not benefiting the community in any positive way. But that does not mean that the county or KMAC should line up to rubber stamp just every plan that comes through. It's not fair to the other members of the community. It's an abrogation of our duty as members of Municipal Advisory Council. And as everyone has in one form or another pointed out, it seems as if the plans that have been presented or not presented here tonight violate every single substantial point of the purpose of the Kensington overlay ordinance. And in addition, I think one of our speakers raised a valid point that it seems as if we're going to have to approve or recommend approval of a roof deck that is well within the setback line, that seems to be an item that would require a variance request. And that brings me into the last point that I wanted to make, is that it seems as if the application process here has been a combination of deception and some. So I think that Chris's recommendation for a continuance, which we can do, is interesting because it will push us back 30 days. And in that time, the effort, I hope, would be made by the applicants to do the things that we would hope that they would do, which is to engage with the neighbors. Um, Considering that the height is going up, story poles would be useful. We are not able to require that, so we won't. I think that addressing the other issues, I don't think a 5-bedroom house on that teeny tiny lot on that very narrow street is only. I don't think I can be convinced that only 2 parking spaces are necessary. And so, I think that the motion that I would make, and I'm going to make it, is to continue this matter for the next meeting. And notify the applicants that, if they want their plan considered, they need to show up and defend it. We are entitled to, in the absence of a presentation, which is also not required, in the absence of a presentation, we would be absolutely within our power as the board to act solely on the application information. And I think it's pretty clear that the board have expressed negative feelings about this application, and that the recommendation would be to deny approval of this application. I also want to point out, I don't understand who at the county is making these decisions. But this particular decision, I think, is really wrong. The idea that this so obviously transgressing sort of application would get rubber stamped at the county level, given the size of the lots, the narrowness of the street, the clear problems with parking, bulk, height, all that stuff. The idea that this would just somehow get passed by unless the community activists take it upon themselves to organize and reach out and show up and talk about this particular plan. I think that it shows, I'm going to say, it's a mistake, but how would we be able to find that out? We don't. We have to just give them the benefit of the doubt and give the property owner the benefit of the doubt, which we will do. I think that we've heard everybody, and I think that we should continue the matter until our next meeting.
I think
That's my thing. That's just me.
the one thing I want to comment about that.
Okay.
That after we vote about this matter, because I do think that warrants some discussion from this group about how this actually almost didn't make it to KMAC. And I'd like to better understand how we could explore that a little bit better. Like, I know that they're hardworking people. I want to make sure this group has a very good relationship with the planning department. I think that mistakes happen, I just want to make sure that if this mistake happened, how are we learning from it to make sure that things that should be getting it in front of this group actually do make it in front of this group. I hate to think that other mistakes have been made, and just because like a member of the board happens to be a neighbor and knows a lot about this process, could actually figure out how to step in and provide guidance to that department to make sure that it does make it here. Not everybody's going to have that knowledge, so I want to make sure that we find a way to nip that in the bud. And it could just be like, it could be an experience of being on the team. It could be any number of different things. It could just be the fact that this submission was so opaque and very difficult to assess that it was easy to make a mistake, sorry, but I think it does warrant some exploration there.
Another area which we have responsibility but no comments.
Yeah.
Let's find out.
Yeah.
No, I agree completely with that. So let's dispose of this particular agenda item. In fairness, we'll have a series of motions. I move that we postpone consideration and voting on this application to the next meeting, which is currently at the end of April.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that's unanimous.
That's the question. What happens if they don't show up again and they don't do any storyboarding or story polling or?
We're absolutely within our rights to continue it again. No, I think at that point, we will have received the message that they're not interested in our feedback, and so we would proceed on the papers alone. So. All right, so I'm not going to bring up the motion to recommend approval or denial, considering that the postponement has been approved by a 5-0 vote. And that's that. We're, oh, we have.
I have a question for you. So we did all talk about things and you gave your opinion. Is this recorded or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this can be provided to them. Is there like a way in which you can say, we're continuing this on the understanding that you're going to listen to everything that, I mean, somehow it's like Groundhog Day to come back again and do the same thing
Oh,
without having them maybe.
well, we've never really done this before. To continue it without when someone's a no-show.
Yeah.
Just. Considering that these people are also Kensington property owners, it's a courtesy. And this is all being recorded. If you look up Supervisor Joya on YouTube, the videos are there and you can review that. I'm also going to refer to that specific, YouTube link in my correspondence with the county and with the applicants following this meeting. And hopefully that will not require your attendance at another meeting, although you're welcome and encouraged.
I don't mind coming again. I guess I just think that I think there are a lot of points that were made that would be great if they could actually come prepared with either suggestions of changes they might already make. Or, meaning that it's, I mean, they need to be able to present what they've done, but they are going up 7.5 feet and they are doing these various things that are affecting the neighbors. And if they did come with some ideas of how they might not affect the neighbors as much, it would be nice.
That would be great.
That would be
Right, and I think that the purpose, by postponing a decision and giving them a chance to show up at the next meeting is an intent to try and give them a chance to have a dialogue with residents in a consolidated manner. Like, it'd be great if they reached out to you in advance of that and had conversations with you as well, right? But that is, barring that, if they don't do that, I think at least if they show up here, they can actually have a dialogue and use this as a forum to learn more about the project and then better understand it, right? We have another question over here.
Yeah, what do you got?
So in effect, my question would be, how do we as neighbors know when they update plans and when they make changes and all that? Because we have heard, I mean, I haven't heard about that language update, for instance, we just saw the one thing, that's it.
Well, what usually happens is that as the county sends the packet, usually just straight to me, and then I immediately forward it to everyone else on the board. Then we arrange to distribute the notices to everyone that's possibly affected. So if between now and the end of April, when we would meet again, there is a new set of plans that is available, then the old set would become non-viable. The new set would be posted to, there's a specific section of Supervisor Joy's website. And we would proceed on that basis by using the same methods. I've always thought that it might be easier for the county to stick a pin in the map, draw a circle around it, and then just mail everybody a notice. But the decision is that it's best for us to do this on a case-by-case basis because of the unique topography of Kensington, that not everybody whose house is in a specific distance would possibly even reasonably be affected. So I guess if it looks like it's coming back, we would notify people in the wrong way, and then the plans will be available to review and
And then, at this point, the county not okay.
no, we're holding it in bureaucratic limbo.
And so just for have an understanding, like, because of the continuance, we'll just show up next month. And
Right. Right, and then it looks like, first of all, there will be a meeting in April, that's the last Wednesday. I usually prepare a preliminary agenda, which I submit to Robert with Supervisor Joy's office, and then that gets submitted. As soon as he gets it, and while it's subject to being revised up to about 3 days before the meeting date, usually the first draft is.
And just would we come say the same things again, or just say, hey, I previously expressed my
It's
thoughts?
on the record now,
Right.
it's recorded, it's posted. You know,
There's nothing to say. You know, the decision-making part of the body has already heard all of this stuff. Like, if you want to be in the record and speaking to, for example, the county planners, then you obviously, well, we're not here to tell you about this. Okay. All right, so, having voted on the continuance, now we just have adjournment. Or do you want to talk about?
Well, I think I said my piece, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know, Robert,
We need
if
to
there's a
find
way
out.
for us to engage with them, like, again, they've been on. They've attended our meetings occasionally too, the corresponding team quite a bit, you know, so like, definitely want a good relationship with that team. That I just want to make sure that there's a way for us to help ensure that this doesn't happen again, that'd be great.
And maybe that people who are viewing for Kensington, I'm sure they've got a, not in a bad way, but a lot of people that work there.
Yeah.
And maybe they ask that they have certain people review the Kensington applications, just that are aware of the ordinance.
Yeah.
Because it's simpleness, and if you didn't know it, you just don't know it.
Yeah.
Right, and it may be it's just gone through somebody's hands who's just never dealt with Kensington. But maybe we ask the county, give special consideration to any of the maps, right, where there are overlay ordinances. Get somebody who, you know, whether it's supervisor level or whatever, takes a look at the plans before it doesn't.
Can you do it, Mark? Hold on, please.
Unless you'd like to do it a different way, I'd be happy to give a strongly worded memo to the planning department on Supervisor Joya's behalf tomorrow with the KMAC CC'd, explaining that it looks like there's a lot of oversights with regard to this project, and we need to take a finer tooth comb to these in the future.
Wonderful, all right. All right, let's get out of here, Frank. Yeah.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you very much, Chris. Great job.